Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. Authorities have gone to Wisconsin to speak with Christopher Watts to try to get further insight as to what he did and why. And there's two hated women in America right now. Can you guess who they are? Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for listening to the podcast. There were reports that came out yesterday that the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, FBI, as well as local authorities in Weld County, Colorado, traveled to Wisconsin to interview Chris Watts and to try to get a further insight as to what he did and why he did what he did. For those of you who don't know, Chris Watts was a gentleman who, on August 3rd of last year, reported his wife and children missing. And it came a few days later, on August 16th, that he confessed. Police found the body of his wife, Shanann Watts, in a shallow grave, and Bella and Celeste had been shoved into an oil tank battery with hundreds of gallons of crude petroleum. Christopher Watts ultimately pled guilty to all counts, and unfortunately, the court did not ask him to provide any type of factual basis or state in his own words what he did when he pled guilty to all these charges, and therefore we were really left with a mystery as to what he did and why. Well, the reports, the videos are apparently in the obviously the possession of the authorities, but they're going to be made public sometime on or about March 7th. We have put in our request to see if we can get those videos immediately upon their release, and once we have them, so will you. We will also have some commentary on them as well. I will be very curious to see what Mr. Watts has to say right about now. There's been some reports that his father speaks with him on a daily basis, and that he can now apparently recite the Bible because he has now found God. Apparently, that wasn't an option for him when he was killing his wife, unborn child, as well as his two daughters. So that is going to be interesting, and I can't wait to see what he says or what he doesn't say. Obviously, what are there, this is very unusual. This is very unusual for authorities to go talk to somebody after the crime. Usually there's appeals that take place, and so it really doesn't happen. So here, we're going to be like everybody else. We're just curious. I'm sure they're curious. Is this some sort of psychological study that they're working on, or do they just want to get information as to what caused him to act the way he did and whether somebody may have helped him act the way he did? It's going to be very interesting to find out what's going through his mind. I'd be also very curious if he sticks with his story of Shanann killing the children, but he just pled guilty to get this kind of all over with, and we shall see. So the next item on the docket that I'd like to talk about are probably the two most hated women in America right now. One does not have to look far on YouTube to find out that Nicole Kessinger is truly despised by many, many people, not only in this country, this state of Colorado, as well as around the world. And for those of you who do not know, the Chris Watts, who pled guilty to killing his wife, unborn child, and two small children, Miss Kessinger was the admitted girlfriend, mistress, whatever you'd like to call her, of Mr. Watts. And we brought it to you, I think, first. There were lots of videos out there, but we're the ones that brought you the actual email that showed Kessinger knowing that he's married, that they really liked each other, and that basically that this relationship was starting to flourish. There's also information out there about how many text messages that they sent back and forth, how many times they've communicated back and forth, the email searches of her being Miss Nicole Kessinger, basically planning their marriage. She admitted that she wanted the life of Shanann Watts. She wanted the home in the picture and things like that. And when you listen to her interviews, which we've put up on this page, and we can try to link those below, but they're definitely on the page, where her information doesn't necessarily jive with what was in the actual records, saying that she didn't know that Mr. Watts was married. She had no idea. And then the vagueness, the games that were kind of played as it relates to turning over her cell phone records. If you know somebody had just possibly committed at the time, she said she didn't know, but if thought that your boyfriend had killed his wife and 2 children, you would think that all that information would be relevant, unless, of course, there's something on there that you don't know. And so when these officers are going up and re-interviewing Mr. Watts, I'd be curious to see if they're trying to find if somebody else participated or did anything along those lines, requested him to do anything. So Miss Kessinger is obviously despised by many people. I've seen lots of things refer to her as a homewrecker, but let's be frank, takes 2 to tango, and Mr. Watts and his marriage may have already been over, but perhaps salvageable, but for Miss Kessinger being involved and participating. And she was one of the last people with Chris Watts the night of the murders, multiple murders, and she's just not, she put herself in a bad light. And apparently, I cannot confirm this because otherwise it would make no sense. If she's in witness protection, they weren't going to tell us where she's going to be. There's been reports that she's in Oregon, but who knows? We've tried to do some research around her, and we can't necessarily find her here. I think she just simply wanted to disappear and forget about it. There's been talk that she was going to write a book or have book deals, but nothing like that has come to fruition. And if she's smart, she probably wants to just go away and be forgotten. Now, the other most hated woman here is Miss Crystal Lee Kenney. And for those of you who don't know, Miss Kenney is the girlfriend of Patrick Frazee, who is dating Kelsey Barrett, who has disappeared, and Mr. Frazee is charged with the death of Miss Kelsey Barrett. And Nurse Crystal Kenney has pled guilty to tampering with evidence because she apparently cleaned up the apartment after Mr. Frazee had killed Miss Barrett with a baseball bat. And Miss Kenney, she is also the nurse who traveled back and forth across state lines from Idaho to clean up the apartment, but leave clues because she was in such fear. Now, you gotta wonder. We've talked about this before, but Miss Kenney really driving across state lines in fear, driving 14 hours from Idaho to Colorado to clean everything up, makes no sense. But yet leave clues so that you can get caught. But yet by her own admission, she says that she goes to kill Kelsey Barrett on 3 occasions and basically backs out. That's why Mr. Frazee apparently had to take matters into his own hands and kill Miss Barrett. But yet Miss Kenney never goes to the police, never tells any friends like, oh my God, this guy's going to do something. I'm so afraid of him. We need to call the police. No, she tells a couple of friends, I think perhaps trying to set a defense for herself once she realizes what she possibly may have participated in, because people don't ask you to kill somebody. You don't go and do it or attempt to do it on 3 occasions and not think, hey, I should get in trouble, but yet always looking for a way out. So Miss Kenney, what do we know also as well? She was married during the same time period that she was dating Mr. Frazee. There's reports that she is pregnant, and who could the father be? Could it be Mr. Frazee? Who knows? It's going to see. We're going to be interesting to see how things develop here in the future as well on her. But Miss Kenney, lied to the police officer. She lied to friends. She lied to her husband. And now the district attorney has bought her story hook, line, and sinker, and that is her story that she is locked into. We also know that Miss Kenney has lied to the police. She's lied to her friends. She's lied to her husband about what her involvement is as it related to the disappearance and murder of Kelsey Barrett. And she's also, I think this kind of shows the character of the woman that the police are now dealing with. Not only does she lie to everybody and apparently can sleep at night, has no problems whatsoever, but then when things get a little hot for her, so to speak, what does she do? She turns immediately on the man that she supposedly loves. They referred to Mr. Frazee as the love of her life, as they had met in college, were apparently quite close, boyfriend, girlfriend. They went their separate ways. They reunite, and she leaves her husband, gets a divorce, presumably to be with Mr. Frazee. This woman is all out for herself. This woman is capable of anything, as we have seen. She says she chickens out to kill people. As a nurse, Miss Kenney obviously has seen death, and she's seen it probably at work in hospitals, and apparently cleaning up after someone is allegedly beaten to death with a baseball bat is not a problem for her either. So, although it's a tough call, who is more despised, I think that the honor absolutely has to go to Crystal Lee Kenney. Thank you for watching the channel. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Hit that little bell if you'd like to be notified of any notifications in the future. And more importantly, if you disagree with me, or you agree with me, or you think there's other reasons why either one of these people should be the most hated woman in America, leave a comment below. We appreciate it. Have a great day, and thanks for watching Crime Talk.